never thought a cardboard box could betray me like that. It was just sitting there by the library dumpster, flaps sagging, looking like trash someone forgot to toss. I'm not the type to poke around in other people's messes. 32 years as a librarian taught me to mind my own business, but something about it gnawed at me. I nudged it with my foot, half expecting a raccoon to lunge out. Instead, I heard a faint scrape, slow and deliberate. I bent down, pulled the flaps apart, and there he was. A tortoise, scratched-up shell, eyes blinking like he'd been waiting for me to show up. Abandoned. Left to die. That's when the anger hit. Someone had dumped him like he didn't matter, and it felt personal, like a punch to the gut. I couldn't leave him there. I scooped him up, box and all, and carried him home, my arms shaking. Not from the weight, but from the sudden responsibility. I live alone, always have. My days are quiet, predictable. Shelve books, nod at patrons, lock up at 6. But that night I was on my laptop until 2 a.m. Googling tortoise care, and how to tell if a tortoise is dying. His shell was a mess. Deep scratches like he'd been dragged across concrete. I didn't know if he'd make it, and that scared me. I'd never had to keep anything alive before. Next morning I dragged myself to the pet store. The clerk, some kid with a nose ring, stared at me like I was nuts when I asked for tortoise food. "You mean like a turtle?" he said. "No, a tortoise," I snapped. "Land, not water." I walked out with a bag of greens, a heat lamp, and a shallow water dish, my savings taking a hit I hadn't planned. Back home, I cleared out a corner of my living room, set up a terrarium with rocks and kale, and put him in. He just sat there staring. I stared back. "You need a name," I said like he'd answer. Sheldon popped into my head. After the library's oldest donor, a guy who'd lived slow and steady too. Fit. He didn't move much that first day, just poked at the kale with his beak. I thought maybe I'd screwed up, that he'd die anyway. But then I dropped a strawberry in, something I read online, and his head perked up. He shuffled over, took a bite, and I swear he looked happy. That's when I felt it. Loyalty, sharp and unexpected. He wasn't just some reptile. He was mine to protect. I'd never had that before, not with anyone. And I wasn't about to let him down. Work was the same old grind, but Sheldon stuck in my head. I'd catch myself wondering if he was okay, if the lamp was too hot. I'd always been the guy who kept to himself. Patrons barely knew my name. But that day Mrs. Carter, this chatty regular, asked why I looked distracted. I mumbled. "Found a tortoise. Taking care of him." Her eyes lit up. "Oh, you've got to tell me more," she said. Froze. I don't do small talk. But she kept pushing. "What's his name? Where'd you find him?" And before I knew it, I was spilling the whole story. She laughed, said it was sweet. Sweet. Me. That threw me off. I'd spent years building walls, and here was this tortoise cracking them open without even trying. By the end of the week, Sheldon was following me around the house. Slow, sure, but determined, like he'd decided I was his person. I'd shuffle to the kitchen, and he'd trail behind, a steady shadow. It was weird having company. I'd talk to him sometimes. "You're a tough little guy, huh?" And he'd just blink like he got it. That night, I sat on the couch, him parked by my feet, and realized I wasn't mad anymore. Not at the box, not at whoever left him. Sheldon was here, alive, and I was the one keeping him that way. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a fight worth winning. I wasn't ready for how Sheldon would turn my life upside down. That first week, I thought I had it under control. Terrarium set, food stocked, routine locked in. But then he started getting picky. He'd nudge the kale aside like it offended him, waiting for a strawberry or nothing. I'd stand there, hands on my hips, saying, "You're not the boss here, buddy." He'd stare back, unblinking, and I'd cave. Every time. It was a quiet battle, me versus a tortoise, and I was losing. I didn't expect to care this much, but seeing him thrive, shell scratches fading, steps a little stronger, lit something in me. Ambition, maybe. I wanted him to make it, and I'd do whatever it took. Work started shifting too. Mrs. Carter wouldn't let the Sheldon story die. She'd corner me by the checkout desk asking, "How's your little friend today?" I'd shrug, say, "Fine," but she'd push, "Did he eat? What's he up to?" Until I'd give her scraps. He chased a strawberry across the floor. She'd laugh, loud enough that heads turned, and soon other patrons were in on it. Mr. Hayes, this gruff retired fisherman, grumbled, "What's so special about a damn turtle?" I shot back, "Tortoise. And he's tougher than you'd think." He smirked, said, "Bring him in sometime. I'll see for myself." I brushed it off, "Sheldon at the library? No way." But the idea stuck. Home was where the real twist hit. I'd left Sheldon roaming one night while I shelved books in my living room. Old habit, organizing even off the clock. I heard a thud, spun around, and there he was, wedged under the couch. He tried to follow me and got stuck. I dropped to my knees, heart pounding, muttering, "Hold on, you idiot." I slid him out, his legs kicking slow and stubborn, and checked him over. No cracks, just dust on his shell. I sat there, him in my lap, and laughed. Me, the guy who hadn't cracked a smile in years. He was a fighter, and I respected that. It was us against the world now, and I wasn't backing down. Then came the call that threw me. I was at work, sorting returns, when the phone rang. "Evan. It's Lisa from Coastal Elementary," the voice said, chipper and fast. "Heard about your tortoise from Mrs. Carter. We'd love you to bring him in for the kids. Talk about him, maybe." I gripped the receiver, stomach twisting. "I'm not a speaker," I said. She didn't flinch. "Oh, they'll love it. Just you and Sheldon, 15 minutes. Next Friday." I wanted to say no. Public anything was my nightmare. But her tone was relentless. "Think it over," she said, then hung up. I stood there, frozen. Me in front of kids. I'd rather wrestle a shark. That night I paced the house, Sheldon trailing me like always. "What do you think?" asked him. "Me talking about you." He munched a strawberry, oblivious. I sank onto the couch, staring at him. I'd saved him, sure, but now he was pulling me into something bigger. People, attention, noise. I'd built my life on silence, and he was breaking it apart. Part of me hated it. Part of me didn't. I grabbed a notebook, started jotting down what I'd say. How I found him, how he fought to live. It was rough, but it felt good, like I was clawing my way toward something. Redemption, maybe, for all the years I'd just existed. By Thursday I'd said yes to Lisa. She squealed through the phone, "The kids'll be thrilled." And I regretted it instantly. But there was no turning back. I looked at Sheldon, parked by my feet, and muttered, "This is your fault." He blinked, steady as ever. I wasn't just the quiet librarian anymore. I was the guy with the tortoise, and people wanted in. The walls I'd built were crumbling, and I wasn't sure if I'd survive the fall. But for him I'd try. The school visit was a disaster waiting to happen, and I knew it. Friday morning I loaded Sheldon into a pet carrier. His first trip outside since the dumpster, and my hands were sweating the whole drive. Coastal Elementary was a squat brick building, buzzing with kids' voices spilling out the windows. Lisa met me at the door, all smiles, saying, "They're so excited, Evan." I nodded, clutching the carrier like a shield. Inside, the classroom was chaos, 25 second graders bouncing in their seats, eyes locked on me. I set Sheldon on a table, popped the carrier open, and muttered, "This is him." A girl in pigtails shouted, "He's so slow," and the room erupted in giggles. I froze, throat tight, thinking I'm done for. But then something shifted. I started talking about the box, the scratches, how I didn't know if he'd live. The kids went quiet, leaning in. "He's tough," I said, pointing at his shell. "Tougher than he looks." A boy with glasses raised his hand. "Did you name him after a superhero?" Smirked. "No, after an old guy who liked books. Sheldon." They laughed again, but it didn't sting this time. I passed around a strawberry, let them watch him eat, slow, deliberate bites, and they cheered like it was a race. Lisa grinned at me. "You're a natural," she said. Natural. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck, but I didn't hate it. Word spread fast. By Monday the library was different. Patrons I'd barely spoken to, Mrs. Carter, Mr. Hayes, even the grumpy teens who hogged the computers, started asking about Sheldon. "How's the little guy?" They'd say, like he was their friend too. I'd shrug, say, "Still kicking," but they'd linger, wanting more. Mr. Hayes cornered me once, gruff as ever. "You're soft for that thing, huh?" I shot back. "He's not a thing. He's Sheldon." He chuckled, said, "Fair enough." I didn't get it, why they cared, but it was like Sheldon had cracked me open and they were slipping through. Home was where the real fight brewed. I'd been scribbling notes since the school thing. Sheldon's story, our story. One night I typed it up, rough and messy, just to see it. "The Tortoise by the Dumpster," I called it. I read it to him, sitting on the floor while he munched greens. "What do you think?" Yes. He didn't answer obviously, but I kept going, tweaking lines, adding the strawberry bit. It was stupid, I told myself. I'm no writer. But the next day, I showed it to Mrs. Carter. She snatched the pages, read them in 10 minutes, then looked up, eyes wide. "Evan, this is good. You should publish it." I laughed. "Yeah, right." I didn't. "I'm serious," she said. "Kids would love this." That threw me. Publish. Me. I'd spent my life hiding in stacks of other people's words, not making my own. But her voice stuck, sharp and insistent like a dare. I argued with myself all week. You're not good enough, it's a waste of time. But every night I'd sit with Sheldon tapping away. He'd park himself by my feet, steady as ever, and I'd think, if he can fight, so can I. By Friday I'd polished it. Short, simple, about a tortoise who didn't give up and a guy who learned not to either. I printed it, hands shaking, and shoved it in a drawer. Mrs. Carter's words wouldn't leave me alone though. Publish it. A battle was building, me against my own doubts, and I wasn't sure who'd win. Then Lisa called again. "The kids keep asking about Sheldon," she said. "Can you come back? Read them something." I gripped the phone, heart racing. "I've got a story," I said before I could stop myself. She paused then. "Really? Bring it." I hung up, staring at the drawer. This was it, my shot or my fall. Sheldon blinked up at me, loyal as ever. I wasn't just fighting for him anymore. I was fighting for me. I didn't sleep the night before the second school visit. I kept picturing those kids laughing, not with me but at me, tearing apart the story I'd poured myself into. By morning my hands were clammy, and Sheldon was the only thing keeping me steady. I packed him in the carrier, grabbed the pages from the drawer, and drove to Coastal Elementary like I was heading to a firing squad. Lisa greeted me again, same cheery vibe, saying, "They've been begging for this." I nodded, throat dry, and followed her in. The classroom was louder this time, kids craning their necks to see Sheldon. I set him down, pulled out the story, and started reading. "I found him in a box," I said, voice shaky. "Someone left him to die." The room went still. I kept going, how I took him home, how he fought to live, how he changed me. My words were simple, raw, and I stumbled a few times, but they didn't care. When I got to the strawberry part, the girl with pigtails yelled, "I knew he'd like it," and the others laughed. I finished, voice steadier now, and looked up. They clapped, loud, messy claps, and a kid shouted, "Sheldon's the best." Lisa beamed. "That was amazing, Evan." I didn't feel amazing. I felt exposed, like I'd just handed them my guts on a platter. But they liked it. They really did. Word hit the library like a tidal wave. Mrs. Carter was waiting Monday morning, arms crossed. "Heard you read at the school," she said. "Where's my copy?" I fumbled, said, "It's just a draft," but she wouldn't budge. "Get it printed. I know a guy, small press, local. He'll do it cheap." I stared at her. "I'm not a writer," I said. She snorted. "You are now." Before I could argue, she dragged me into it. Phone calls, meetings, a blurry week of saying yes when I wanted to say no. Mr. Hayes even chipped in, grumbling, "If it's about that tortoise, I'll buy one." I couldn't believe it. These people were pushing me and I was too tired to fight back. The printer was a guy named Tom, scruffy and blunt. "Kid's book, huh?" he said, flipping through my pages. "Not bad. I'll run 50 copies, see how it goes. 50. I nearly choked. That's too many, I said. He shrugged. You'll sell 'em. A week later I had a stack of books, thin, colorful, The Tortoise by the Dumpster, on the cover with a goofy drawing of Sheldon. I hated how real it looked, how it made me feel like someone I wasn't. But Mrs. Carter took 5 on the spot. Lisa ordered 10 for the school, and Mr. Hayes slapped cash down for 1. Better sign it, he said. I scrawled my name, hand shaking, and he grinned. Not bad, librarian. Snowballed from there. The library put a stack by the desk, and they were gone in days. Patrons, kids, even strangers snagging them. People started calling me the Tortoise guy, clapping me on the back like I'd won something. I didn't know how to handle it. I'd spent years dodging attention, and now it was everywhere. One night, I sat with Sheldon, the last copy in my hands. This is your fault, I said. He blinked, munching a strawberry, and I laughed, quiet but real. I'd fought my doubts and somehow won. Redemption tasted strange, like relief mixed with panic, but I liked it. Then the big twist hit. Lisa called, voice buzzing. Local paper wants to interview you. About the book, Sheldon, all of it. Froze. No way, I said. He pushed. It's good press, Evan. You're a hit. I hung up, heart pounding. A hit. Me. I looked at Sheldon, steady as ever, and realized this wasn't just about us anymore. It was bigger, and I wasn't sure I could keep up. But I'd come this far. I wasn't quitting now. The interview was a gut punch I didn't see coming. The reporter, a wiry guy named Dan, showed up at the library with a notepad and a grin that made me twitch. So, Evan, he said, pen poised. How's a quiet librarian end up a local hero? I gripped the counter, hating the word hero. I'm not, I said. I just found a tortoise. He laughed. And wrote a book about it. People love that. Underdog makes good. I shrugged, kept it short, told him about the dumpster, Sheldon's scratches, the school. He scribbled fast, then asked, What's next? Another book. I blanked. Maybe I lied. Truth was, I hadn't thought past surviving this. The article hit the next day, front page of the Coastal Chronicle. Librarian's tortoise tail wins hearts. My picture was there, awkward, unsmiling, next to a shot of Sheldon. I wanted to hide, but the library was swamped. Patrons I'd never seen before came in saying, Saw you in the paper. Kids tugged at me asking, Where's Sheldon? I started bringing him in sometimes, setting him by the desk. They'd pet his shell, giggling, and I'd watch, torn between pride and panic. Mr. Hayes slapped the paper down one day, gruff as ever. You're famous now, huh? I shot back. Not by choice. He smirked. Better get used to it. Home was my only quiet left, but even that shifted. Sheldon still followed me, steady and slow, but now I'd catch myself talking to him more. About the book, the attention, the mess I'd stumbled into. You started this, I'd say, and he'd blink, loyal as ever. One night I pulled out a notebook, started scribbling again. Not a plan, just ideas. Another story, maybe, about a guy and his tortoise facing the world. Felt dumb, but I kept going. Mrs. Carter caught me at it, peeked over my shoulder. New book, she said. I slammed it shut. Just notes. He grinned. You'll write it. I know you will. The finale came at the library's spring fair. Lisa and Mrs. Carter teamed up, roped me into a reading. Me front and center with Sheldon. I argued, I'm no performer. But they wouldn't hear it. People want you, Lisa said, sharp and final. The day came and the room was packed. Kids, parents, even Tom the printer, arms crossed in the back. I sat, Sheldon beside me, and read The Tortoise by the Dumpster to a crowd that didn't blink. When I finished, they clapped, loud, real, and a kid yelled, Sheldon's the coolest. I looked at him, munching a strawberry, and felt it, victory. Not loud or flashy, but mine. After people swarmed, shaking my hand, buying books, asking for pictures. I signed copies until my wrist ached, muttering, Thanks, over and over. Dan was there too, snapping photos, saying, Told you, hero. I didn't fight it this time. I'd battled my way here, through silence, doubt, fear, and won. Later, alone with Sheldon, I sat on the floor, him by my side. "We did it," I said. He didn't answer, just stayed close, my steady shadow. I wasn't the reserved librarian anymore. I was Evan, the guy with the tortoise, and I'd found my place. The story didn't end there. I've got more brewing, thanks to Sheldon. He's still here, still pushing me, and I'm not done fighting. Life's messy, loud, and worth it. That's what he taught me. And that's Evan's tale. A quiet guy and a scrappy tortoise proving you can win against the odds. I loved writing this, seeing them battle through and come out stronger. What do you think? Could you feel the loyalty, the redemption? I've got more stories like this coming, so hit that subscribe button below. Don't miss the next one.